I think you'd be forgiven if you had really, really big expectations on the Bills heading into 2022, thinking that they were the Super Bowl favorites out of the AFC, thinking that this would be their year. Maybe I'm just making excuses for myself because I certainly thought that was the case. And I feel somewhat justified in that, right? Like, the only reason they got bounced to the playoffs the year before was because the defense caved very, very late, but Josh Allen did all that he could. And it's like, yeah. They reached the divisional round, almost got past the Chiefs. Next year's their year. And they go on the offseason, they bring in Von Miller, and you're like, okay, Von Miller's that difference maker as an edge rusher that they needed, get a little more depth on that D-line. They addressed that last offseason. And then the season happened, and then you had the whole thing on Monday night with Damar Hamlin, and thankfully he ended up being okay, but what a surreal, kind of funky moment. And, again, it's one of those things that I personally looked at that and would have thought, that's the type of thing that while you could say that might distract and destroy a team, it can be a really galvanizing thing. I go back to the 98 Falcons, if you remember, Dan Reeves missed some games, and Rich Brooks stepped in. Because Reeves was having surgery for his heart. And the Falcons just kept rolling. They went 14-2 that year, and they ended up going to the Super Bowl, losing to the Broncos. And I thought, okay, maybe this is their late rallying cry. Now they've got a cause that's bigger than just a championship. You're going to do it for Damar. And then that didn't happen. And they really went out there against the Bengals in the divisional round at home, and they laid an egg. There's no other way to put that. Their defense was bad. Josh Allen and that offense absolutely sucked. So, a lost opportunity. There's no other way to put that. And the Bills' championship window, they got to try and maximize it now this year. It's 2023's got to be the time. This is a team in win-now mode, and their draft strategy needs to reflect that. It's about quality of talent and impact that talent can make versus the quantity of the talent. That's what's got to be the focus. That's what had to be the plan heading into the draft. They needed to find some guys that could play at a star-like level and play at a star-like level really quickly. And if that means you forsake some picks in future drafts, you forsake some picks in this draft for the sake of moving up if you need to, then that's what you got to do. Now, when you look at their first-round pick here, it did show that priority on going and getting an impact talent, as interesting as that thought process and that pick ultimately was. They traded up from 27 to 25 to jump the Cowboys to go draft Dalton Kincaid, the tight end from Utah, which they clearly felt the Cowboys were taking him at 26, and I don't disagree. So they went up and they got their dude. And to me, it's a little interesting that the Bills would take him and trade up a little bit to do so when they already have Dawson Knox. But you know what? I think this is a Bills team that's in one of these spots that they say, we got to find another pass catcher. It's not like we're going to play Dalton Kincaid as like a traditional tight end anyways. He's going to be lining up a ton in the slot. He's going to be lining up outside, probably utilize him even some out of the backfield as a pass catcher, right? Almost like an H-back or something like that. You're going to find ways to put him on the field along with Dawson Knox. They just need another weapon and another difference maker, and I certainly think that Kincaid can be that. Because he's more like a big slot receiver than he is a true tight end. So when you get past the part of him and Dawson Knox on the same offense, why would you do that? It makes sense if you look at it a little deeper. And at the end of the day, they needed another playmaker for the now and for the future, and they got it somebody else that can help Josh Allen. So, well done there for the Bills overall on day one. They also didn't, go and have to jump up too much to get one of the wide receivers. You could have made an argument for that, certainly, but they found a playmaker at 25. Day two started with another investment on the offensive side of the ball, and I like this. Osiris Torrence gives them a starting quality year one guard with physicality and some needed size and bulk. Frankly, if you'd have told me the Bills would have stayed put at 27 and taken Osiris Torrence, I would have had absolutely no beef with them doing so. Because I could have made a justification and an argument for Torrence going in that spot. So for them to be able to get him at 59 was a steal, in my opinion. They addressed the defense in round 3 by taking linebacker Dorian Williams. He really fits as an off-ball cover 2 linebacker When you think about, allowing Tremaine Edmonds to leave via free agency, you got to back that up. You got to find a way to adjust to that. I think there's an outside shot that Dorian Williams could be in the rotation and potentially even start this year, but definitely could in 2024. So when I look at their day two picks, I think they did a really good job here. Torrence was a steal at 59. Williams, I thought, was a decent pick in about the right range in round 3, so that was good. And as you shift to day 3, pick 130, which was their 4th round pick, they gave that up to go get Dalton Kincaid, moving up from 27 to 25, so not a big deal there. They picked up a late 6th to move back 13 spots in round 5 to take Justin Shorter. Do I think he has the ability to contribute some down the road? Maybe. He's got some big play possibility, ball skills, size, speed. He's worth the roll of the dice. Maybe you feel like long-term gives you some flexibility when you think about Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. I don't know that Shorter is quite going to be on that level, but it made sense. They traded pick 205 for a 7th-round pick and a 6th-rounder next year. Did the same thing with 215, traded for a late 7th-round pick and a 6th-round pick next year. It's kind of interesting as they got into day 3. They didn't really prioritize players per se. Because I don't imagine Broeker and Alex Oster are going to be much more other than practice squad guys. But it's interesting that they took those 6th-round picks that they had in this year's draft and they said, yeah, we're going to peel back into round 7 and let's get some additional draft pick capital next year, which it's a good way to do it, right? Because it's not like the Bills have a ton of needs. They're not a team right now that's in a position where they need 12 picks and they need 7 or 8 of those guys to hit. Just get a couple of guys that can come in and contribute to be starters, and you're good. But you've also given yourself some flexibility for the future. I think if you look at this draft and you say Dalton Kincaid is a contributor in 2023, O'Cyrus Torrence is a starter in 2023, Dorian Williams is a contributor in the rotation or maybe even a starter in year 1, then you feel really good about what the Bills ultimately did here in this draft. Again, it's about quality, not quantity. In a couple of years, the approach for the Bills is going to change, I'm sure, and they're going to need more talent, more cheap talent on young rookie scale contracts. But for right now, they got a little more help for Josh Allen. Got to hope that Von Miller stays healthy. Hope maybe somebody like Williams can come in and make up for some of the void left by Edmonds leaving in free agency. But this Bills team seems like they're poised and positioning themselves for another shot at it in 2023.